So today we begin with this article by a political analyst, a dear friend of mine, and Nathan is very close to him. He was in one of we call them our OGs. These are some of the original gangsters, people that were in our very first pilot Sunday night Latter-day Struggles growth group. There are wise men and women all over the place in the Mormon faith expansion space.
So principles of transcending include taken from the work of Ken Wilber's integral theory. So the first principle is to remember that development is stage-based, that human consciousness, as well as the progression and worldviews and values of societies in general, they evolve through identifiable stages or waves. The fourth principle that we have gone over with Ken Wilber's work is that integration requires compassion and awareness. To include means to honor the spiritual truths of prior stages. And mature integration brings with it greater empathy and wisdom and complexity by definition. It is not regression, but it's embracing.
We live in such a polarized community. And it is appropriate to feel sadness and anger when our core values are being threatened and the people in power are talking openly about destroying the current government, business, educational, and scientific pillars of the United States. If we have learned anything in this past decade, it is that just being anti-something does not mobilize people. A successful movement must be for something. Lasting change and the preservation of democratic norms will come not by defeating the other side, but by persuading them to join us in efforts to actually do things that help our community prosper and ensure fairness for all. An example of this comes from a friend of ours who told us of her 74-year-old father, a man who voted Trump all three of the past elections, but is now on the streets protesting against this regime. Instead, focus on building a prosperous, fair society that secures these values rather than the controversy of the day. Build bridges instead of scoring debate points. The purpose of their propaganda is to make people feel isolated, powerless, and afraid. The belief that nothing can be done about a situation is simply not true in America. Our history shows over and over again, normal people working together have demanded change from their governments and have gotten it. The president is not the government. The government is not the country. We are the country. Remember, if you're feeling overwhelmed, that is by design. Instead of worrying about trying to oppose everything, pick one or two issues that are highly important to you. Decentralization of politics feeds freedom. As with all politics, you will be much more effective working with a group than working alone. One person can be dismissed as a crank, but when 10 people show up to a city council meeting all wearing the same t-shirt, the person who speaks for those people will be listened to. Showing up matters. Second, work to mitigate the impact of the harmful policies in your community. Protests can be powerful tools for change, but they also can be irrelevant and self-defeating. It is important to understand the limits of a protest. A protest will never convince an opposing group to change its mind. When effective, protests can change the political reality of an issue by tilting the public balance in your favor. Go outside, sit in a meadow or hike a trail, reconnect with nature and your own humanity. But don't stay there. Come back, engage. Collectively, we can replace chaos with order and cruelty with compassion.
The approach is to find common values and to make it known what you're for, not what you're against. One of the strategies of an oppressive regime is to try to make people feel isolated, like you don't have a community, you don't have a group. We want to lead with what we are for and not so much about what we're against. And he points out that it's very important that we have dialogues, not arguments.
They would, in fact, find something that they had in common. But I think frequently, at least in what I have viewed politically as a novice in just noticing this kind of stuff personally, is that we don't ever think of what we have in common first. What we think about is more about demonizing and denying almost like the humanity of the other position. And what Brian's teaching us here is that the foundation of discourse and of coming together really is in recognizing the humanity of the other.
You have to recognize that the only way to affect change is to learn to work together with people of different points of view. Conservatives and liberals, Republicans and Democrats, he said, we want the same thing. We just don't always agree on how to get there. I want America to be better, not I want to destroy America, which is what, of course, I, as a conservative, thought of a liberal filmmaker. I thought, oh, you're just trying to destroy America.
So on the one hand, there's get involved in a meaningful cause with people that believe the same way as you do, right? And I think that's, if I may, like, compare what we do in the faith crisis world, that's what you and I do here on Latter-day Struggles and with the group work that I do. And all of a sudden it feels like I have nothing to talk about, because a lot of us have been led to believe if you don't 100% align, then you can't have productive conversations. If we don't invite people into growth, they don't grow, and we as collectives don't grow into higher levels of consciousness. And polarization keeps everybody stuck. What you just demonstrated, Nathan, is that couple things. Number one, a healthy community doesn't need to be fully aligned ideologically. And so what we're here to say is, on the one hand, we hold closely to our ideals and work for evolution and really speak truth about things that matter to us from our place of psychological, spiritual consciousness development. And also, when we're face to face eating fried chicken with our loved ones or our friends or the ward people or whoever you surround yourself with that are ideologically different, meet them where they are. Treat them like human beings. Dignify that they're thoughtful human beings that come by their opinions in a very honest way based on their experiences in their lives. They both felt the safety of expressing who they were and what they were thinking about a pretty fraught topic for somebody who was quite politically and religiously conservative and somebody who was quite politically and religiously liberal.
We shouldn't have monuments in our city to a violent Christian, white nationalist, white supremacist.
Thank you all so much for being on this growth journey where we're learning how not only to just transcend that which has been problematic, but also to include the beauty and goodness of who we are